29-year-old Ben Renick was a real star in the reptile world. From a very young age, Ben showed an interest in snakes and knew exactly what he wanted to be when he grew up. Ben got his first snake when he was still a child. His hobby turned into a business. The young guy founded the Snake Breeding Center and sold reptiles all over the world. Its center was in Missouri. Ben was a true professional in his field. Ben Renick was married to a girl named Lindley. They met as teenagers in 2011. A year later, the guys began to live together. Lindley had a son with a previous partner. Ben became a second father to the boy. 3 years later, Ben and Lindley got married and had a child together. Ben had a brother, Sam. They lived together in a large common house with their families. Their land area was about 70 acres. The brothers got along well with each other. Their children grew up together. On weekends, Ben and Sam liked to go fishing. Lindley actively helped her husband with snake breeding. She looked after the reptiles, cleaned their cages, sorted them. By 2017, Ben Renick's snake business had become incredibly successful. The man took his snakes all over the world. Ben has taken part in conferences in England, Japan, and the USA. Renick became so successful that if he sold some of his reptiles, he could make a fortune. Ben planned to sell most of his ball python collection. The total value of this collection was approximately $1 million. Ben and Lindley opened a second business, a day spa in Columbia, Missouri. It was led by Lindley. Previously, the woman worked as a massage therapist. It seemed that everything was fine in the Renick family, but Ben and Lindley began to quarrel often. The husband began to suspect his wife of cheating. He began to constantly control his wife. Quarrels also occurred over money. In May 2017, Lindley complained to a worker at her spa. The woman said that her husband constantly insults her, humiliates her, and uses physical force. Lindley did not go to the police, but decided to do something different. One day, Lindley prepared a cocktail for her husband and added 15 tablets of a powerful painkiller. After drinking the cocktail, Ben became ill. He had a hard time with the poisoning, but survived. Ben had no idea that they were trying to poison him. The man recovered and could not even imagine what would happen to him next. On a hot summer day on June 8, 2017, Ben Renick was found dead on his snake farm, which housed about 3,000 exotic reptiles. The man was lying on the floor in a pool of blood. The first person to discover Ben was his wife, Lindley. She immediately called Sam Renick. The brother quickly arrived at the farm. Lindley and Sam then called the police. Sam suggested that Ben was bitten by a poisonous snake, and because of this, the young man died. The police arrived at the farm. Officer Dave Colber carefully examined the scene and found shell casings. The policeman said, "When I saw the shell casing on the shelf, located directly above Ben's head, I immediately knew that the snakes were not to blame for anything. It was a real murder. Ben was shot 8 times. One of the shots was from close range." An investigation into the case of Ben Renick has begun. Investigators looked into the theory that Ben's murder may have been a robbery gone wrong, but quickly ruled it out. All valuable snakes remained in place. Nothing was missing. Dave Colbert believed that it was necessary to take a closer look at those who were closest to the deceased. The main suspects in the crime were Lindley and Sam. They were interrogated and fingerprinted. However, no traces or evidence against them were found. There were no weapons at the crime scene either. Lindley and Sam actively cooperated with the investigation. Following Ben's death, his community and support group were devastated by what had happened. People raised money to support Ben's family. The farm's valuable snakes have been sold off. The total amount of donations amounted to $40,000. During interrogation, Lindley said that Sam might be involved in the crime. She admitted that Ben wanted to sell their common house in which 2 Renick families lived. She claimed Sam was upset about it. Ben inherited the property after another tragedy occurred on the Renick family farm. 5 years ago, in 2012, Ben and Sam's father shot himself. The man was involved in a multi-million-dollar stock scheme. Many people lost money because of Renick's father. 2 weeks after her husband's death, Lindley decided to sell Renick's business. By law, she was also entitled to a payment from the insurance company. Ben's life was insured for $1 million. The woman called the insurance company a few days after her husband died. Lindley wanted to know when she could cash out. Insurance company employees passed this information to the police. During another interrogation, Lindley admitted that she had a relationship with another man. His name was Arik. They met 2 times a month. Lindley admitted that they just had sex and nothing more. The man was interrogated. He had a solid alibi and all suspicions were cleared from him. The manager of the spa, which belonged to the Renick family, said that Lindley had not one lover, but at least 2. They met the second Brandon Blackwell on a dating website and dated after the tragedy. Investigators discovered Facebook messages between Ben and Lindley. The correspondence stated that Ben learned that the spa was losing money. A few hours before his death, Ben sent a message to Lindley. "Stop lying. Don't hide anything from me anymore. You don't pay people's wages and you think you can pay them later?" On October 5, 2017, Lindley Renick took a lie detector test. Investigators said Lindley failed the test. To the question, "Did you shoot this man?" the woman replied, "No," and the lie detector showed that this was not true. Investigators suspected that Lindley was the one who committed the crime, and maybe someone helped her. Her assistant turned out to be Michael Humphrey. He was Lindley's ex-boyfriend. The man was recently released from prison. Michael Humphrey previously served a sentence for possession of controlled substances. It turned out that Lindley called Michael many times, including on the day of the tragedy. It turned out that Michael Humphrey came for a massage at the spa. The investigator said it was very suspicious. When police reported Michael, Lindley burst into tears, but still maintained that she was not to blame for her husband's death. The police had no hard evidence. Lindley Renick was released. After Ben's death, the popular snake farm became an empty frozen field. 8 fatal shots went unanswered. Sam Renick was concerned that the culprit had never been found. Sam feared for his own life and the life of his family, but the most unexpected behavior came from widow Lindley Renick. After the death of her husband, she refused to communicate with Sam. Lindley sold all the family property, closed the spa, and quickly moved out of town. In January 2020, Brandon Blackwell contacted the police. Lindley met him immediately after the death of her husband, Ben. Lindley and Brandon met online. They started living together. After 1.5 years, they had a child together, but family relations began to deteriorate sharply. Lindley and Brandon broke up. After this, the man went to prison. It was there that Brandon revealed creepy details about Lindley. Brandon told how the woman tried to poison Ben, and then she turned to her ex-boyfriend, Michael Humphrey, and asked him to help kill Ben. They went to a snake farm. Michael had gloves and a firearm. Michael was supposed to shoot Ben himself, but things didn't go according to plan. Michael couldn't make the shot. Lindley took the weapon and killed Ben. The case was solved. On January 16, 2020, 3 years after the incident, Lindley Renick and her ex-boyfriend, Michael Humphrey, were arrested. Relatives and friends did not expect such a turn of events. Lindley had one motive: money. After the death of her husband, she received a fortune. During questioning, Lindley Renick and Michael Humphrey pointed fingers at each other. Lindley claimed that Michael fired the shots, and he said that it was Lindley who killed Ben by firing 8 bullets at her husband. The murder weapon was never found. Humphrey's defense argued that Lindley lured Michael to the snake farm to protect her from her husband, whom she wanted to divorce. At the farm, Lindley pulled out a gun and asked Michael to shoot Ben. The jury did not believe Michael's story that he was an innocent bystander. After deliberating for 5 hours, the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. Michael Humphrey was sent to prison. Already behind bars, he changed his testimony. Michael agreed to cooperate with the investigation in the hope that he could eventually be released on parole. Humphrey admitted that he was the one who found the gun and brought it to Renick's house. Michael claimed that Lindley fired the shots. The man gave the address where he hid the weapon. The police found a gun in the house of his new girlfriend. Ashley Shaw was a spa worker. The woman became the main witness for the prosecution. Ashley confirmed that Michael Humphrey and Lindley Renick committed the murder together. Ashley admitted that after the crime, Lindley came to the spa to wash away evidence. Lindley took a shower and washed off the bloody marks. Lindley told Ashley everything. She said that Michael got nervous and couldn't shoot. Lindley admitted to Ashley that it was she who killed her husband. Lindley's lawyers argued that Ashley Shaw and Michael Humphrey made up a silly story to avoid life in prison. Lindley claimed in court that her husband Ben was very cruel and even used physical force. Here is Lindley's speech in the courtroom. "I walked right behind Michael. Suddenly he turned around and I saw a gun in his hands. Then I heard shots. I screamed and ran out into the street. Then I heard several more shots. I froze in horror. I stood on the street and looked at the trees. Michael ran out of the building, pushed me and said, 'Lindley, get in the car. It's time for us to leave here.'" The judge announced the verdict. The jury found Lindley Renick guilty of second-degree murder. Michael Humphrey was found guilty of armed criminal action. Lindley Renick, 33, was sentenced to 13 years in prison. Michael Humphrey received 3 years in prison. Sam Renick told the court that the sentence was unfair. Lindley will be released when she is 46 years old. She has her whole life ahead of her, but Ben is gone forever. Ben Renick will long be remembered by reptile lovers. A new breed of snake, Renick's Ghost, was named in his honor. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel.